taking pictures. So I was going to try and get a few pictures. Looks like we'll have none. Not that I can take pictures as a timer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marty Haynes. I am president of the Hixson Kiwanis Club this year. At this time, I'd ask for you to rise. We have the Hixson High School ROTC to present the colors tonight. Dr. Greg Martin, our county commissioner here in Hixson, is going to lead us in the pledge.
Halt. Colors turn. Arch. Breathe in. Colors.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our glorious flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Colors. Colors turn. Arch. Forward. Arch.
Okay, please be seated. And this is a reminder to me more than anyone else. Please silence your phones at this time as we'll try to get through the evening just as quickly as possible. Thank you to the candidates for being here tonight. Having been a candidate myself and been involved in forums like this, I know how stressful these times can be at times. But tonight, the Hixson Kiwanis Club, we opted to have this meeting in person. We are thankful. I'm thankful to the members of our club. We are one of the longest-standing civic organizations in the county. We were formed in 1947. We've had an illustrious career of raising money for our community. We have, over the last 25 years, provided scholarship for a graduating boy and girl from Hixson High School. That's something that we're very proud of, and that's something that's continued for a long time. We helped build the first football stadium in Hixson back in 1950. That's a day or two ago. And then we were also instrumental in providing the lights for the current stadium that opened in 1978. We also provided the land and the equipment for the Vandergrift Park, which is it's on School Drive near the Hixson Youth Athletic Facilities and Hixson Methodist, if you know where that is. So at this time, I'm going to be real brief and ask, we've got several of our members standing in the back. If you're a member of the Hixson Kiwanis Club, please stand at this time. If you're a past member, Mike, please stand. Thank you. We meet the first and third Tuesday each month at the Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate Office. We would love for you to be a part of our group. We focus on the children in our community. That is our focus. We don't get outside of Hixson. We focus right here. We have 8 schools that we work with on a regular basis. And I have to brag on our school board member, Joe Smith, who has been instrumental in connecting us with a group of students this year that need help in simply reading and doing homework. So thank you to Joe and his wife Paula for the work they do there and making that available to us, or that ministry opportunity. Again, the Hixson Kiwanis Club is a long-standing club. We are engaged in civic engagement. That's our purpose for tonight. And before I turn it over to Dr. Lee Ziegler from Hixson High School, the principal, we have a few elected officials with us tonight that I'd like to recognize. We've already recognized our school board member and Kiwanis Club member, Joe Smith. Joe, thank you for being here. Larry Henry is our circuit court clerk. He has to pay a fee every time he comes to Hixson, and I pay one when I go to East Brainerd, so it's a long-standing tradition. Sessions Court Judge Gary Starnes is here. Thank you for being here tonight, Judge. State Representative and my fiance, Esther Helton, is in the back of the room. Please say hi. So anyway, and appreciate her taking time to come out to my side of the river for an evening. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ziegler. I'm going to step away. He's going to be our moderator for tonight. We ask, if you have questions, Greg, raise your hand. Joe, raise your hand. If you've got questions, question cards, get it to one of the 3 of us, and then we'll get it to Dr. Ziegler after the candidates make their opening comments to us. So at this time, I turn it over to a man that we are extremely proud to have in Hixson and to be leading my alma mater, and several of you in here tonight are leading our alma mater, Dr. Lee Ziegler. He took the challenge. I am excited that he's here. There are great things happening at Hixson High School that you're not going to read about. We hear this all the time. The good things don't get reported that are going in our schools often enough, long enough. Master Sergeant Burhans, are you still here? Raise your hand. He's in the back of the room. He is the director for our ROTC program at the high school. They've won numerous competitions and are great citizens and great students in our school. And so we're happy that they were here on really a moment's notice tonight. So with that, I'll be quiet, get out of the way, and turn it over to Dr. Ziegler. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Can I take this off while I'm speaking to the mic? I'm good with that? Okay. Just want to be safe. I'm asking my school board member over here who supports me all the time. He calls me when I don't do things right. He calls me and tells me, Joe, that I really appreciate Joe and the opportunity to be with y'all tonight. I am not a Hixson grad, but I am very proud to represent Hixson. My wife, actually, she's back here with me tonight. She was actually a teacher at Hixson High School, and when they named me as the principal at Hixson High School last year, she had to leave. And so we had a few weeks where things were a little bit tight at my house, but she's eventually, I hope, have you forgiven me at this time? No, she hasn't. But she loved working at Hixson, had been there for 9 years, and loved Hixson High School just like I do right now. I told them last week we had a meeting. We're talking about schedules for next year, and I said, y'all don't understand this, but I'm 100% Hixson right now. I love Hixson. There's a lot of great things that are going on at Hixson High School. Just to give you an example, one of our institutes, our medical institute, the Health Science Institute, got awarded state certification last week. We have the best health science Fry Institute in the state of Tennessee. My daughter actually graduated from, not kidding about that. My daughter graduated, my youngest daughter, I have 5 kids total. My youngest daughter graduated from Hixson, and she went through the institute and is now getting ready to graduate from UT with a nursing degree. And we had, I think, 9 of our students that got certified to be CNAs a couple weeks ago. And one of the first things that happened after they aired a little program on one of the local news channels that we started getting calls at the school about, we need to hire your CNAs because there's a shortage of CNAs. But we also have an ag institute. How many schools can you go in and they have a doggy daycare and they're teaching students how to work at a veterinarian, with a veterinarian, taking care of dogs, taking care of animals. We got a barn out back that has animals with it. How many schools can you find in the state of Tennessee like that? We also have a business institute. And our, like we've already said, the ROTC program at Hixson High Schools is next to none. We win the best year in and year out in Hamilton County with our ROTC program. So we're really excited about everything that's going on at Hixson High School and the Hixson Community Schools. That's one of the things that we're trying to do right now is bond our schools together because there's a lot of schools in this community. We're in one of them, Hixson Middle, Hixson Elementary, Big Ridge Elementary, Loftus Middle is part of our program, as well as Middle Valley. We have a lot of students that come from Middle Valley, so we have a lot of great schools here in Hixson that we want you to understand that if you have children or you've got grandchildren, they need to go to a Hixson school. So let's get ready to get started on this. I just want to make sure we understand the rules tonight. I am a rule follower. You have my seat, by the way. Oh, God, that's okay. I'm just kidding. Did you put your name on that? It was a little late. I gave every one of the candidates numbers, and on the they chose numbers, and that's the order that they will speak tonight. We will open up with them 3 to 4 minutes, give them what I call an elevator speech, where they will give their background and talk about why they're running for mayor and what they're going to do for the city of Chattanooga. And after that, the time that we have left, we will answer some questions. We will not be able to answer all the questions that were turned in tonight because of the limited amount of time, but we will answer some. We do have a timekeeper down here, David Queen. He's going to hold up a green sign when you have a minute left. Okay? When you have 30 seconds left, he's going to hold up a yellow sign that says 30 seconds. Okay? You need to make sure you're watching. Like I've already said, I'm a rule follower. And when your time is up, he's going to hold up the red. And that's when I will also tell you your time is up. All right? At the end of it, after we answer questions, when we're answering questions, they have 2 minutes. Is that correct? 2 minutes to answer questions, and we will go in order of that. Unless a specific candidate is asked a question, then that candidate will get to go first for that. And then everybody will have, is it a 2 minute or 1 minute response to that?
1 minute.
1 minute response to that. If anybody is called by name in one of the responses, then that person will have a chance to give a 1 minute rebuttal. We'll still hold the signs up for your time. Anything that I have left out you think I need to mention? Other than we need to be respectful. I am a high school principal, and I represent over 900 students at Hixson High School. And I want you to know that they might be watching tonight because it's being live streamed. So we need to be respectful, and I actually have some in the audience. Do I not? There we go. One of mine's here. I've got some more back there. So we're going to be respectful to one another and talk about what we can do for the city of Chattanooga. Okay? Number 1 is Monty Burrell. And I will let you just come up after each one is finished and start your time.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I want to thank the Hixson Kiwanis Club for giving me the opportunity to come this evening and share a little bit of my platform. And I'd like to say thank you to Hixson Middle School as well for hosting this event. My name is Monty Brule, and I want to be your mayor. I'm a native Chattanoogan, though I have lived all over the United States. I've been back home in Chattanooga for about 10 years now. And when I moved back, I noticed that there was a lot of disparity going on here. Some of us are doing great, but others in our community aren't doing so great. I like to say that Chattanooga is like a bright, shiny pickup truck. Some of us are riding up front in the cab, we've got the air conditioning going, the music is playing, and we're enjoying the view through the windshield. But there are some poor people who are riding in the bed of the truck, and we're piling more people in the bed of the truck every day. Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know how trucks work. At some point, when the weight of the people in the bed of the truck exceeds the capacity of the truck, it's not just going to be them who are broken down by the side of the road. We're all going to be broken down by the side of the road together. So in this election, we have some decisions to make. We've got to determine what future we want for our city. Do we want a thriving city with a vibrant middle class where all people are successful? Or do we want to create this permanent underclass where we have two Chattanoogas, one of the haves and one of the have-nots? I don't know about you, but I want a thriving city with a vibrant middle class where there's room for everybody. So that's the number one reason that I want to be your mayor. I grew up in Alton Park in East Chattanooga. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. Both of my grandmothers worked as maids. So I don't come from a privileged background. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. But just through luck and the grace of God, I was able to go to Baylor School on a scholarship, and I became Baylor's first African-American graduate. And from Baylor, I went to Harvard, and I have a degree in economics from Harvard. I know Chattanooga from both sides of the tracks. I know every neighborhood, I know every zip code, and that is what we need in the next mayor of Chattanooga, because we need a mayor who can bring us together, who can represent all people, who can be transparent, who can be held accountable, and perhaps most of all, who's accessible to you. So let me just tell you a few things that I want to do as the mayor of Chattanooga. First, neighborhoods are the building blocks of cities. We cannot have a great Chattanooga unless we have a great Hixson. And I feel like we've invested so much in our downtown. Now, I live downtown, and I'm glad we have a great downtown, but we need to have a great Hixson too. So we've got to make sure we're investing here. Part of that is investing in roads and infrastructure and leaving a great legacy for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Monty Brule, and as I said, I want to be your mayor. Thank you.
I'm Juan Cartwright. I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank the Hixson Kiwanis Club for having me, and the Hixson Middle School. I was born in Kalamazoo Township, Michigan. My father was a farmer, a hard worker, and he instilled within me the need for hard work. He was not only a hard worker, but he was an honest, truthful, good man. And it's always been my aspiration to be like him. In my early years, when Dad first got the house, we didn't have indoor plumbing. We had an outhouse where the family would go. We needed to take care of our business. So I'm quite familiar with the dark side of life, with the impoverished side of life. And it's my goal to make a difference in the world. I'm the first of 4 children that went to college, went on to get a bachelor's and a master's degree in counseling, psychology. I was a Tennessee licensed psychologist, also a Michigan licensed psychologist. And people have always been my passion. And it was always my passion to learn why people acted the way they did, why they do the things they do. And life is a game. It's a game with real consequences. My purpose is I want to decrease the severity of those consequences. So what I'm wanting to do is I'm on board with what Kim, Tim, and Wade want to do. I've read the things they want to do. I'm right on board with it. Plus, probably about a dozen different things. And if you want to read all about them, you can find it on Facebook, Juan Cartwright. But among those things is I think we need a mask mandate that has real teeth in it. I would be one for wanting to give fines for people who consistently refuse to wear a mask when they're out shopping in a store. Just the other day, I was in a store, a Walmart, and a lady was coughing her head off, no mask, and the managers didn't say anything about it. Nobody said anything about it. And I see that happening quite frequently. We, in Tennessee, you can get a $10 or $20 fine if you don't wear a seatbelt. Why shouldn't you get a $10 or $20 fine for not wearing a mask when you're in the store with a lot of people and you're very close? It doesn't make any sense. Also, I'm wanting to, I'm not going to be able to get them all out, but I'm wanting to have income-based fees and fines. If you make under $20,000 a year, you'll pay 30% of your fines and fees. If you make over $20,000, you're going to pay the full amount. That I know of, I'm the only candidate that has proposed that. And it's only fair. It's justice. You know, we want a level playing field. Right now, it's a bumpy road for a lot of people. And I want to change that. All right. Well, my time is up. Thank you for listening.
Good evening. My name is George Ryan Buck. I'm sorry to say, but I'm a graduate of Red Bank High School, but I'm happy to be here with you all here tonight. Now, I run for Congress in 2016, Helena County Mayor in 2018. I have a master's degree in education and a bachelor's degree in political science, but I also know what hard knocks are in the last few years. This is what I believe. Healthcare is a human right, housing is a human right, and food is a human right. As the mayor, I'm going to guarantee no one goes without a home, no one goes without food, no one goes without shelter. Period. Because I believe good policy is good policy for all. I'm an essential worker, and we're losing wages in the pandemic. So this is what I'm going to do. We have to fight, even in our own state, to guarantee unions for all lines of work, from table servers to street sweepers. I was downtown today, and we have public works people picking up trash in 24-degree weather. And I promised them if I became mayor, we're going to give them a raise. Okay? So whenever you think about what it's like to work with your hands, lose wages, and lose money, it's hard for a lot of people. So what I'm going to do is guarantee the right of the worker to stand up for themselves. Because I live in the West Side too. Affordable housing means nothing if you've lost your job, you lost your income, and lost everything. And I want to increase budget for food, nutrition assistance. Even in his community, you've got to call 201. You can't provide food for yourself. So all communities should be able to feed themselves and keep their homes. We're going to put more money in rental assistance. Homelessness. We're going to make sure that no one loses their home during the pandemic. We're going to make sure that every single worker who loses time during the pandemic is compensated. And we're going to fight the companies that punish you when you speak out for bad conditions. I know what it's like to be suspended on my job for speaking out for bad wages. My co-workers ask the questions every single day. How do I pay my rent with less money? So I'm the only candidate probably sitting here that's had to call 211 more than once every month because I can't buy food. So I want to make sure no one ever goes without food, shelter, clothing. Affordable housing means nothing if you have zero income, shivering in the cold, sitting in a wheelchair on the side of the street. Those are our people out there. Our brothers and sisters in the Lord. We will make darn sure no one goes hungry, no one without food, no one without shelter. And I'm grateful that we're doing well in Hixson. But our fellow human being, like you said, is not doing so well. So as a mayor, I want to help people from the bottom up, not the top on down. And I guarantee you, I'll have a corporate-free government. I have no money. I would take no money from the corporate sector. Because I think integrity is the key to paving our roads, our streets, and feeding our children. Thank you for your time. Join the love revolution. Essential workers unite. That means if you're a street sweeper. That means if you collect trash, or you run a register. If you're working during the pandemic, exposing your loved ones to COVID, dying alone in the hospital of COVID-19, you deserve a mayor that fights for you, not the corporate interest.
Well, good evening. I'm Tim Kelly. I would be honored to be your next mayor. If we all seem a little off up here, it's because this is the first opportunity we've actually had to do this. It's refreshing and it's amazing to actually be here in front of real people and not a Zoom screen. So thank you to the Hixson Kiwanis for putting this on. It's great. I want to introduce my wife Jenny, who's in the back, who's along with me, along with some staff. Look, I'm Tim Kelly. As I said, I'm a local guy. I was born here, grew up here, went away to school for 4 years in New York, came back 32 years ago to start in my family business, which was then Kelly Cadillac. Grew up in the car business, went on to branch out into a few other things, started Southern Honda Power Sports, which is now the largest Honda motorcycle dealership in the country, which is right off Working Road here in Chattanooga. I was a co-founder of Chattanooga Football Club, which is our local soccer club. Started a few other businesses, but I've also spent the last 30 years in the nonprofit world. Like the Kiwanis, I'm a Rotarian. I'm sorry if that makes me, I assume I'm welcome here, but Rotarians as well have a great tradition of servant leadership, and I grew up in a family of great servant leadership, and it was just bred into me. But I started out on the board of Girls Inc. and went on to Big Brothers Big Sisters, did a lot of board work, and it gave me a great perspective on Chattanooga and its problems and issues. And as I was telling somebody earlier today, I went through leadership in Chattanooga in 1991, and tragically, we're still struggling with a lot of the same issues that we were struggling with then, today. And I just got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore, very frankly, and felt like I've achieved quite a lot in life. I'm happy with where I am. It's certainly not about money, you realize at some point. And I'm bound and determined to move the city forward. I have no future political ambition whatsoever. I'm not trying to use this as a stepping stone to get to Nashville or D.C., God forbid. I've cast my lot here, and look, this city has the potential to be the greatest city in the country. Not the greatest mid-sized city in the country, the greatest city in the country. But we've got to stop sweeping the hard things under the rug and tackle these things. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a talker, I'm a doer. I'm a small business person by trade and an entrepreneur by trade, and what entrepreneurs hate is wasted potential and inefficiency. And so I'm bound and determined to tackle some things. What are some of those things? Well, first off, COVID recovery. Very clearly, the first order of business is to tackle the COVID crisis head on. I would appoint a public director of public health to work with the county to accelerate the pace of vaccinations and really get us back on track. I would start a small business resource center, one-stop shop, to help our small business community rebound. And I would act as a more effective orchestra conductor to get the city back to work and lead the private, the public, and the nonprofit sector to recovery. Neighborhood development, another big area for me. Downtown's great. I live in Fort Wood on the fringe of downtown. My businesses mostly are downtown, but we've neglected our neighborhoods in Chattanooga for too long. And Hixson is one of Chattanooga's great old neighborhoods. And look, if you live outside of downtown, the least you should expect from your tax money is smooth roads and filled potholes. So that is a huge focus for me, is getting the basics right in the neighborhoods. Just got 30 seconds. My other issue that Joe Smith knows I'm super passionate about is education. We've got to improve education in Hamilton County, and the city mayor can do more about that, particularly around early childhood education. Ultimately, we can't just stand back and say it's not the city's job. We have to demand across this county and the city that education be of world-class quality here in Chattanooga. Thank you.
Thank you, Hixson Kiwanis. It's great to be here tonight. I'm Kim White. I'm proud to say that my journey in Chattanooga began at Hixson Junior High School. It was the old high school, obviously, but I am a proud Hixson graduate. I am the first in my immediate family to go to college. I paid my way and worked to go to UTC, and absolutely love the city. I left after college and ended up in Augusta, Georgia, where I met my husband. We've been married for 32 years, January 1st. I don't think he had any idea what he was getting himself into, but it's too late to turn back now. My career was taking off in the telecommunications industry in Chattanooga, in Augusta, when his company was bought. And so he followed me on my career path. And we moved from Augusta to Atlanta to Birmingham to Fort Myers, Florida. And in 2003, when they got ready to move us again, we knew it was time to put down roots. And we came and visited Chattanooga when Mayor Corker was the mayor and the 21st Century Waterfront was going on, and there was so much energy and excitement in the city, and we chose to come to Chattanooga. I moved here without a job. I'm not politically connected. I didn't grow up on a mountain. I didn't inherit a business, but it really was rolling up my sleeves and just cold calling and trying to figure out where I could find my voice. And through that process, several people said I had such love for the city, I needed to meet our mayor. And I cold called on Mayor Corker at the time and ended up running his real estate company, and that was my beginning. I jumped in with both feet. I've served on the Erlanger board for 6 years. I've done just about any nonprofit you can imagine. UTC has meant so much to me in my life. I got involved there. I became the president of the Alumni Association, the president of the foundation. Governor Haslam appointed me to the UT Board of Trustees. I established a reputation as someone that rolls up their sleeves and got to work to make this community better. In 2009, I was on the board of the River City Company. We're a private nonprofit focused on downtown redevelopment, and I was encouraged to use my voice in that way. So for the past 11 years, I have worked tirelessly to make downtown a great place to live, work, and play. And over the years, people have encouraged me to use my voice in a bigger way because the needs of our city are so much bigger than the needs of downtown. And I felt like this is a path that I've been led to go down. Really how we use the way we've worked to build downtown to touch every part of our city. It's public-private partnerships. It's getting the community together to actually touch every single neighborhood. So September 10th, I embarked on this journey. We are 2 weeks away, and I hope everybody gets out and votes, and I would love to have your support. My platform is pretty simple. I've worked inside city government for 11 years, and there's a lot of stuff that's broken. We've got to get things recalibrated. We need to focus on recruiting jobs. We've taken our eye off the ball. There are small, medium-sized businesses that are hurting, and they're the backbone of our community. We need someone that will actually come out and work and give them resources. I plan to do that with a small business support system. We need money for infrastructure. I plan on putting $3 million more into infrastructure for paving that touches every single place, like Hamill Road and Lakeshore Resort Drive. Working with your city council rep to make sure this stuff actually happens and is not just talked about. We need to leverage our relationships with Nashville because we haven't done that. We also need to support our first responders. I'm so proud of the fact that I have the support of both police unions, and I've said that we need more police officers, not less, police officers that are part of the community. In order to do that, they need more money. I'm passionate about the city. I hope you can see that. I know that there's things that the city government, we need to realign. We need to make it easier for people that want to start a business or grow a business. We need to make it easier for people that actually want to invest in our community. I am so proud of the fact that the business community of this city have rallied around me in a big way. I have their support. I know the nonprofit community. I want to get out and work hard for you. That means Hixson, that means East Brainerd, that means all parts of our community. I'm thrilled to be here, and thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Christopher Dahl, and I'm running for the mayor of Chattanooga. And the reason why is I started a history site a few years ago, and I started to see these cycles that we're stuck in, cycles of corruption, cycles of discrimination, and nothing has been addressed about these issues. I'd like to run to get the city back into the city charter, for us following the mandates that are in the city charter, us addressing the discrimination issues, us addressing these high sewer bills that we have and the infrastructure downfalls. For many years has these infrastructure downfalls been put on municipal bonds that have been taxed not only on us, but our last generation, our great-grandparents have paid for these issues, and nothing has been done. For many years, we just see the tax dollars are not being reciprocated across the board. That's the reason why I'm running. I grew up here. I moved here as a kid, went to a different school almost every year. So I got to see how our school system is as well, where there's a lot of issues there. But that pertains to a lot of county doings, and that's why a couple years ago I ran for county commission, because I see a lot of issues there as well. I want to get the city out of the fraud, waste, and abuse that we have going on with our tax dollars. I want to ensure that they're reciprocated. It seems like a lot of times people forget that just Chattanooga doesn't consist of just the downtown area. We have Lookout Valley, we have places north of Red Bank that are part of the city as well. Boy Scout Road area. All these areas are starting to fall apart, and we can see why. And one of the reasons why is because when a city focuses on just public and private partnerships, what tends to end up happening is the infrastructure takes that cost, and we see that going on today. And I feel like if we don't turn things around and start addressing these issues, that they're just going to get worse. What I'd propose to do is restructure our government completely, ensure that we're following the city charter, making sure that there's term limits across the board, even in the city's quasi-judicial boards that they have with the county. I think as well, turning a lot of those boards into departments or commission-style forms so they're more transparent as well. We have a lot of issues with censorship going on in this city. At the city council meeting, you can only speak twice in 30 days, and you can only speak for 3 minutes, and you're censored on what you can speak about. That's the first thing I would do, is get rid of that right there to open it up more for the public as well. And then I have ideas of having meetings, our city council meetings, held at different locations, even here, or even at other rec centers. And even when they're not held at those places, having them broadcasted live where people can call in and address the issues that they see in their community. I'm Christopher Dahl, and all I ask is you guys consider me for the next city mayor.
name's Robert C. Wilson, and I'm asking for the opportunity to serve you as your next mayor. With many failures and successes along the way, my journey to this stage here tonight actually began many years ago when my interest in public service was first inspired. It was in our 3rd grade class at East Chattanooga Elementary when the mayor at that time, Robert Kirk Walker, came and had a talk with us. His initials are KW, mine's are CW, we're kind of close. But he spoke about leadership when he visited our classroom. And he said that by encouraging our class, that any one of us there could rise to the rank of the highest office in the land. He pointed around the room and said, any one of you could be the President of the United States. And that's when my inspiration began, and I said it's political indoctrination maybe, but it was a good speech, and it just kind of got you thinking about being a leader. As a hometown boy, I was raised in East Chattanooga community, and you will find my roots humbly grown deep into the soul of this wonderful city we call home. My father was a World War II veteran. He basically had one job in his career. He worked for the Department of Transportation for 50-plus years, and my mother worked at the F.W. Woolworth Company for 40-plus years. I grew up downtown. Like everyone on this stage tonight, and the audience for that matter, we would all like to just wave a magic wand and all of our problems just magically disappear. However, we know it just doesn't work like that. So along this way, I've been thinking about what are the things that I can really get done as your next mayor. Job one will be public safety. We will secure our neighborhoods by providing more training, more diversity, and more better retention of our police officers. Our training initiatives will include localized training and mandatory completion of the crisis intervention training course for all our officers. We're at about 40% now. We will create more diversity in the force by asking community leaders, local business people, ministers, teachers, other leaders to identify people in their communities that have a desire to be a law enforcement professional, and then we'll ask them to put these candidates forward so that they can be considered. We will work to improve retention within the police department with better communication, improved opportunities for advancement, and incentives for growth for each and every officer. We will not tolerate violence or lawlessness again. Some of the other initiatives that will be included, I will work to unite the 3,000 city employees around common goals, providing a more efficient operation with a focus on cost cutting, reducing waste, and yet improving the services that the city provides. Vocational training. We're not just going to talk about it because the jobs of the future are the jobs that build the future. My team will work to create a joint partnership with local building trades representatives as well as other educators throughout the city to establish a jobs training program. As a product of vocational training at an early age myself, it set me on a path to success. I've been blessed with a wonderful family, great friends, as well as good, reliable counselors and mentors throughout my life, and you will find me continuing to seek guidance from others. As the saying goes, in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. I'm Robert C. Wilson, and I'm asking for your vote to be your next mayor, because together we can make Chattanooga better than it has ever been. Thank you for having us.
Good evening. Good evening. All right. So much staff from school for being late this evening. Well, first of all, Tim, you're absolutely right. It's kind of strange to see everybody in person. It's great to see everyone. And thanks to the Hixson Kiwanis for inviting us here. Thanks for Hixson Middle School for hosting us. It's great to look out and see some familiar faces as well. My name is Wade Hinton, and I'm running to be the next mayor of Chattanooga. I'm going to ask you for your vote. Let me tell you why. I'm a native of this city. I was born and raised in a community called the West Side. My mom raised me there, my two older sisters. And she taught us a couple of things. She taught us the importance of standing up for what's right, but she also taught us the importance of service. And service has always been a part of who I am. While I attended public schools all of my time here, even graduated from Chattanooga School for the Arts and Sciences, where there was a commitment to service. I left here thinking I would never come back. I left this city thinking that Though my neighborhood in the West Side, they loved me, they embraced me, they poured into me. As a city, I didn't feel that same sense of embracement. I didn't feel that same sense of belonging. And while I saw all the transformation happening in the city, I didn't know if I could be a part of it. But when I was in law school, I took a chance, I clerked here, and I saw all of the activities happening, I saw all of the action happening, and I said, you know what? If ever there was going to be a time for me to be a part of this city, if ever there was going to be a time for kids growing up in the West Side and East Lake and Lookout Valley to be a part of this city, I had to come back. I had to come back and fight for those kids. I had to fight for those communities. And I've been doing that for 20 years. I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing for 20 years. I've worked in the private sector, having served as the general counsel for Volkswagen here locally. I've also served, though, as the city attorney for 5 years. In fact, when I was driving here, I was reminiscing as I was going on North Point Boulevard. You all might have remembered for a while there was nothing but potholes and there were some challenges around the paving issue. Well, I brought business leaders around that table to solve that issue. And that's what I did. That's how I operate. So after serving as a city attorney, I went on to UNM to serve as the Vice President of Inclusion and Diversity. Again, bringing people around the table to solve hard issues. And now that we are facing one of the toughest, most challenging, really, challenges that we've ever had in our lifetimes and beyond, I wanted to bring all of those skills, all of those talents, all of that experience to this moment, to meet this moment. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm the first candidate to actually release a COVID recovery plan. And what it calls for is this. We've got to make sure that we collaborate. We've been sending mixed messages from the city and the county and the state. We've got to come together to make sure that Chattanooga's know exactly what to expect. We've also got to invest in our small businesses. Our small businesses are hurting. We are reading all the time about a business closing down. We've got to support them by giving them the funds, the resources, and the tools they need to not just survive, but thrive on the other side. We've got to make sure that we're also helping those families that are struggling, that are right on the edge of getting evicted from their apartments and their homes. We've got to provide support and resources for that as well. That's my top priority. Second is going to be creating a more inclusive economy. We've seen the city grow and expand, and so many jobs come here, but not every Chattanoogan is being able to participate. It's been the best town ever, but not for everyone. I'm going to make sure that we have the policies, the resources, the tools, the training, the workforce to make sure that every Chattanoogan, whether you live in Lookout Valley, whether you live in East Lake, especially if you live in Hixson, that you have the opportunity and connection to those good paying jobs. And lastly, we're going to invest in our neighborhoods. We have a great downtown, we're going to have a great Hixson, a great East Lake, and a great Chattanooga. I need your vote. Wade Hen. Thank you.
As you can see, we have a lot of qualified candidates and a lot of different opinions, a lot of different ideas. And so we're going to get to the question time tonight. And because of lack of time that we have left, we probably will not get to all of the questions that were submitted tonight, but we'll try to get to most of them. If you have other questions that you would like to ask that don't get answered tonight, my suggestion is that you go directly to the candidates and ask them, and they can give you those answers. So here's the guidelines for what we're going to go through for the next. We'll go in the same order that we went before, to kind of remember the order that you went in before. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes. You did a great job, by the way. I'm going to tell everyone you did a great job. I didn't have to be the bad guy up here, and I won't keep it that way. So you got 2 minutes to answer the questions. If a candidate is called specifically by name in the response, that person will have, let me make sure I'm saying this, a 1 minute rebuttal time. Okay? If there's a question for a specific candidate, that candidate will go first, then we'll go in the order that we went in before. If it's for that candidate, it doesn't mean you have to answer. That makes sense? But you can if you want to. So any questions before we get started? 2 minutes. Timekeeper's still going to hold up the card, and I'm going to step up and tell you time to wrap up. So the first question that was given to us is, what are you going to do to address a railroad crossing at Hamill Road near Memorial Hospital? So, we'll start with you.
This is a great person for a guy from Alton Park, East Chattanooga, who lives downtown now. But what I do know is that Hixson has some of the most dangerous intersections in Chattanooga. If you look at the incident of traffic accidents, you will see that, for example, Hamill Road and 153, I think that's number one on the list there. Well, I can tell you that issues involving railroads and tracks and crossings are more complex than they need to be, because my mother retired from Norfolk Southern, and I can tell you a lot about railroad right-of-way and how they guard those things. But what I can tell you is that as mayor, I will forge a relationship with the railroads, be it Norfolk Southern or CSX, and any place where we have issues of safety, then I will put those as a high priority, and I will do my best. Because government is here to serve the people. If we're not here to add value to your quality of life, then what good are we? And if that railroad crossing is important to you, then it will be important to me. So let's get to work. Let's do it. Thank you.
That's a good question. It needs to be fixed. I would be in liaisons with the railroad company. And also there's a lot of death traps in Chattanooga. Hamill Road, 153, and there's probably 8 or 9 others. We need to get more signs up in places that need them. I was going down Broad Street, and actually I was getting out of the Dollar General on Broad Street in Chattanooga, and there's that whole line of trees that is a big blind spot. You almost have to turn, you have to go out into the street to see if there's cars coming, because if you could get hit. There's a lot of accident traps in Chattanooga, and for the Cartwright administration, that's one of the first things I'm going to look at are these accident-prone areas and places that could be improved for our citizens. So that's high priority on my list of things to do. And the sidewalks, many times they're in horrible condition. If you transport yourself down a sidewalk, you might do what happened to me a few days ago. I actually fell on a broken piece of sidewalk. So these intersections, the railroad stoppings, and all that, that would be a big thing that I would be looking at under my mayoral administration. Thank you.
Well, according to the Federal Administration Act, what that means is we're obligated to make sure all these places are safe. Now, this is what happens when corporate lobbyists take over the government. Money has gone to pet projects and we've neglected our city. So, we're going to make sure that Chattanooga dollars stay in Chattanooga and out of corporate hands. So therefore, at this crossing, we are going to fix it. We'll put up more guardrails, more lights, clear out the brush. And before we build any new highway projects, we need to fix our infrastructure. So that is part of my corporate-free government pledge to you. At this crossing and in every crossing, we put the resources into putting up the guardrails, the lights, make sure the streets are well lit and well paved. And so there are many dangerous road crossings throughout the city. But I live downtown, so by Holtzclaw as well. So we have let our infrastructure to go by the wayside. So The corporate free government pledge is to make sure that I spend no dollars on any corporate interests, no dollars on the hot dollar companies, and make sure we fix every railroad crossing, we fix every broken street light, and I don't get around very well. So we actually need to give disabled people like me more time to cross the street. Okay, so make the city more pedestrian friendly, and make sure every railroad crossing and street crossing is safe for all people of all abilities. Thank you.
So we've got an extensive plan on our website called Potholes, Paving, and Parking at kellyfordcha.com. Doesn't address this specifically, but I've done a little homework, and I understand, I've been at that intersection. I grew up in North Chattanooga. This is my neighborhood too, and I know the backups there are getting terrible and intolerable. That Norfolk Southern line is, and it's going to get worse, right, as multimodal transportation starts to ramp up around here. It's tough, because the plan, from what I've read, to build a bridge there would displace, I think it was 4 homes and 9 businesses. It's going to be difficult. I understand that there's some talk around a state fund that would provide the funding to build the bridge. I believe a bridge would be $20 million, if my estimate is correct. But if the state's percentage of that, or rather if the city's percentage of that is only, or the city-county portion would be 10%, which is what I understand might be possible, and that was just $2 million. Look, I think that's a great use of leverage to help Hixson, and the backups are, as you well know, headed out into 153. They themselves are a public safety hazard. So I would also say there's a possible technological solution in the meantime. Norfolk Southern has the ability to communicate an advancing train data to the city or any municipal authority as a data feed. And currently it's just going to 911 operators, so ambulances can avoid that. I don't know why we can't incorporate that into, talk with Google and Waze and some of these mapping providers to let the general public know that it's coming, and just to avoid the area entirely. So that would be my approach to solving the problem. Thank you very much.
I travel to Hamel Road every time I go visit my mom, and the joke is, do I catch the train coming and going, or coming or going? I went to a meeting about 1.5 years ago at Abbott's house, and I think it was one of the first times that the state and the city and everybody came together to solve the problem and talk about the problem. So the first thing is, we've got to communicate. We've got to communicate with the state. The city has to be a partner, and Hamel Road needs infrastructure, period. But the railroad crossing is about a $40 million fix. And right now there's talk, I know your city council person is on it, and I plan on working closely with city council and with state officials about some railroad crossing on Cassandra Smith. How do we actually have some signaling so you can avoid that while the train's coming through? So I would say the $40 million fix for a bridge, it's not going to happen anytime soon. But what we need to do is keep the lines of communication with the state, making sure we leverage those partnerships and making sure that they are at the forefront when we start planning. So Hixson has more needs than that. I know that's a big one, but to think that 1.5 years ago was the first time that the state and the city sat down and talked about this issue, so shows you part of the problem, that we need to be working in conjunction with all our officials to make sure that it's a priority.
Yes, to address the road crossing or the railroad crossing at Hamel Road, first I would ensure that the train administration is following the Administrative Act or the Transportation Administrative Act that is that we have, which federally regulates train sizes and length. Another thing that we need to realize too is that we have a board through the county called the Hamilton County Transportation or Hamilton County Railroad Authority that the city would have to work with in order to look into any solutions that would come through on that rail crossing. Also, the road is a city right-of-way, so we have to realize that the funding or the responsibility falls on the city to deal with a lot of that issue as well. So we have to look at viable cost solutions for Hamel Road, which has been turned into a busier road because of overdevelopments on Cassandra Smith that have actually violated our EPA consent decree and should have never been put in place in the first place. We saw what was the result from that, an officer getting hit looking at a sewer overflow on Hamill Road a few years ago. So we need to be better stewards of our government and hold our officials more accountable as well.
What was that question again? I'm kidding. I may need that magic wand after all that I was talking about. One of the first calls I got was from a friend of mine that said, "Robert, get over here and clean my ditch out. It's overflowing." So I shared with him that I wouldn't be there right away. Still had to get elected. There are multiple issues out there. I've been approached by, people with bridges out. There's a lot to get done. And some of that is what I was alluding to as I shared about uniting the 3,000 city employees. I've observed for myself in multiple situations where there are opportunities to be more efficient and to get the staff all focused on what needs to be done on a daily basis so that they can get it done. Certainly those things that are out there that the city can address, you will find my team working to get it done. Now, this is something I really don't know about. I'm not from Hixson, so I would have to learn about what are the responsibilities for city government regarding this crossing, though. But I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight, and I will work hard for you as your mayor to create an efficient, effective government operation. Thank you.
Well, as someone who was late because they were stuck behind the train, I can speak to this a little bit. So, let me first say this, that the way we're going to solve a lot of these issues, especially when it's dealing with other entities, is really by bringing folks around the table to address them. So I would talk and address this issue with TDOT, as well as have our CDOT department come up with some solutions, both short-term and trying to address the issues long-term as well. We know from a resource perspective, we may have some challenges in the short term, but we've got to figure out how do we begin to make some more investment on a long term. That's how it is. This actually, I think, goes to the broader conversation around infrastructure, which again, I think we've done some great work downtown, but I think we've got to invest more in our neighborhoods, and infrastructure is one of those places that have been hurting. While I know that, again, we have a great department, great administration that can make decisions, you're going to see from a Hinton administration more communities, more Chattanoogans coming around the table through participatory budgeting to help us make some of these, solve some of these solutions as well. I know that technology will help with some of this, but again, I think some of the best solutions will come from the folks in this room. So I'm looking forward to engaging you in those conversations and helping us prioritize what are those places and spaces we need to invest in. Thank you.
This question is for Mr. Kelly. And he'll have 2 minutes, and then after he has his 2 minutes, and we'll go in the same order. Just skip over him and go to you, Ms. White, when it gets to that time. The question is, Mr. Kelly, could you explain why you moved your dealership out of the city?
I can't wait to hear everybody else's answer on this one. The question refers to my Honda Power Sports dealership, which is down on Workman Road. I bought that store. It was originally the old Griffith Honda down on Dodds Avenue, and that store was, selling maybe 80, 90 units a year. And we introduced a new one-price business model and turned it into the largest power sports dealership in the country, the largest Honda Power Sports dealership in the country, probably in the world. We ran out of room, so we moved it across to a large 100,000 square foot warehouse that Joe Proctor sold me over on Workman Road, right there by Walter A. Wood, if y'all been down through there. Well, it's not exactly a mall location if you've been down through there. It is not what anybody would think of as a retail location. So we began almost immediately to look for another location. And when East Ridge announced their Board of Region Development Act, it became a no-brainer. I see Esther in the back. She knows all about that. If you're curious, it's a heck of a deal. If you've got anything to generate sales tax, you should be talking about that. So Look, we were always going to move out there. It's a heck of a deal. I don't know why Chattanooga didn't take advantage of it. I'm proud to say that the sales tax portion, we generated a ton of sales tax down there, will eventually, will still accrue to Hamilton County, either way, even in the new location, and that's the thing I'm most passionate about, is education. So, look, it was a long time before I decided to run for city mayor. Whatever goes back in that location, I'm proud. I created all those jobs from thin air. So I don't regret the decision in any way, shape, or form, but whatever goes back on that location in Workman Road, I'll make sure serves the city and the community just as well. Thank you.
I don't have anything to say to that. Nobody? Well, just get more questions in that way. That's fine. All right. Question number 3. Question number 3. What are you going to do about the trash on the road and homelessness? I think is also on that. Is that correct at the bottom of that? Okay.
There's no doubt that we have issues with trash, with beautification, and we certainly have an issue with the homeless. The answer to the trash, there are 2 answers to the trash. One, incentivize people to not throw it there in the first place, and 2, as a government, pick it up and clean it up. So that's the short answer there. Let's talk about the homeless problem, which isn't so simple. We don't have enough housing units to accommodate the homeless. We need to have more low-barrier shelter units because at the heart of it, the answer to homelessness is a home. So we've got to provide more units there. A lot of people are homeless because they have mental health issues or because they have addictions. Well, we can't just put someone who has those problems into a unit without any support. So we've got to expand mental health, we've got to expand social services of all kinds. If you go to Chicago, the University of Illinois Health Systems in Chicago found that just by giving free housing and free basic medical care to the most frequent users of their emergency room, they were able to save several millions of dollars a year. So one solution might be to partner with CHI Memorial, Erlanger, Park Ridge, and see if something like that might work here. But we do have a problem. It's a serious problem, and it's one that our community certainly needs to address.
Well, the trash, perhaps we may need to look at stiffening the fine a little bit for folks who are throwing the trash around. Also making sure that our city garbage folks are doing their job picking up the trash. I had the honor of visiting Phoenix, Arizona. I don't know if you've ever been to Phoenix, but I swear that's the cleanest city I've ever seen. You'd walk around town, you wouldn't see so much as a gum wrapper anywhere on a sidewalk or on the ground. In addressing the homeless problem, there is a lot of mental illness and substance abuse going on for some of those folks. A very, 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 very small percentage are playing out a Don Quixote type of role, and some may disagree with me, but there's some folks, I don't know if they like being on the street, but we have some people who they go from city to city and travel the country, and they choose that lifestyle. Not very many, but very, very few percent. We definitely need more housing, and I think the city needs to be more understanding of folks who already have a home, who perhaps have some kind of mental illness or substance abuse, and they're not taking care of their home, rather than kick them out of their home so they add to the homeless problem. Let's help those folks. You know, let's get them hooked up with a United Way or some other groups to help them fix their home so they can stay in their home. Thank you.
Hello. First of all, I think we need to stop calling people homeless. They're residents without address. They're our fellow brother and sister and human being. That's the first thing. They're not the homeless, okay? You call someone other than their name, you can treat them differently. That's the first thing we need to stop doing right there. Okay? Now, as mayor, I want to guarantee and make sure we have housed every single person in Chattanooga who has no home. Okay? Open up hotel rooms, centers, whatever we do. It is 24 degrees out there, for crying out loud. People are freezing to death. Okay? It's a pandemic. So whatever it takes to make sure everyone has a home. Now, every person is out there for a different reason, though. So we need to work with our state and local governments to make sure we have the mental health resources available. Now, when it comes to the trash, I'm downtown waiting on a bus. Our public works people are picking up trash. And it's 20 degree weather, though. I promised them, if I became their mayor, I would give them a raise. Okay? Yes, there's trash everywhere. It's the middle of winter. So, if we pay people living wage, they'll things will work better. So, we give all, even hire more work people. But pay them a living wage. Give them health care, benefits. Put homeless people to work. Adding more stuff, like a works program, picking up the trash. But I want to guarantee, in the first 100 days, I want to eliminate all homelessness in Chattanooga, because housing is a human right, food is a human right, health care is a human right, not a privilege. And I believe that.
So, on trash, simple answer, a little more complicated. We've got 4 trucks sitting idle in the city right now because we can't hire CDL drivers to run them. There are those Hoover trucks that pick up garbage on the side of the road. We're paying them, the scale is like $30-something thousand. Well, you can't hire a CDL driver for that. If we were to spend $40 grand bumping that up, we could put those trucks back on the road and put a big dent in the problem. I think the larger problem, though, is that Chattanooga is suffering from a deficit of civic pride. The city's got a slumped shoulder, sort of. Slowly we've drained away what mojo and civic pride we had in Chattanooga back in kind of the mid-2000s, and we've got to get it back. And I hope whoever wins this race will put it back. So on homelessness, George is right. I mean, this has to start with compassion first. Good old Christian compassion. It's easy to forget that this is not an abstract problem. These are human beings out there. Jenny and I used to volunteer at the community kitchen downtown, and I always segmented it into thirds. Third were really just down on their luck, a third were mentally ill, and a third were just vagrants that needed to move along. And look, the job of the mayor is to be an orchestra conductor, and we haven't had much of one for a while, and this problem can be solved. We have the resources to solve the problem. The FUSE program that the county's got is a great program to handle, in particular, the mentally ill segment of the population. The nonprofit community we've got can really do a lot to put a dent in the transitional homeless. And very frankly, we need to work with the police force to empower them to take the dotted line away from the aggressive panhandling ordinance we've got downtown and let the police do their job when we've got folks down there that are harassing people and just need to move along. Thank you.
Well, the easy one is the trash. We really have taken our eye off the ball. And really some of the basic things that we should expect as a city, that our roads reflect the quality of our city, and they don't. So we're going to figure that one out. I'm committed to make sure not only infrastructure, but we're going to pick up trash. I can't tell you how many calls I'm getting about trash, and it's not a good reflection. So trash, we'll figure that one out. The homeless issue, do you know there's 40 organizations right now that are working on the homeless issue? And what I've been told, there are 300 chronic homeless families. Now, as a city, we have solved some big issues. And if we think there are 40 organizations and we work together in concert, we can figure out how to house 300 families. So Signal Centers was just given the Backbone grant to help kind of coordinate all those efforts. So the first thing I want to do is jump in and let's figure out where the gap is. So that's one piece of it. But we do have a lot of transient homeless, and we have a lot of bad behavior. And we got to make sure that bad behavior is not tolerated in Chattanooga. It's a detriment to businesses, it's a detriment to residents. So it's a double-edged sword. We want to house the ones that want to be housed. We got to take care of the bad behavior too. Also, we do need more affordable housing. If you look on our website, kimwhiteformayor.com, we have a very in-depth affordable housing plan that we're committed to bring, and we know we can bring 700 units of affordable housing on during my first term. I know real estate, I know development, I know the city has a lot of derelict properties. We're going to leverage that in order to make sure we have affordable housing. So it's a multifaceted problem, but there are solutions and levers that the city can do to solve it. Thanks.
Hello, I'd like to first ask, who asked that question? Because are we trying to insinuate that the homeless population that we have are trash? Secondly, we have to define what is trash, because we have a lot of hidden dump sites around the city, especially along creeks, that could actually get the city in trouble with the Clean Water Act. We have to ensure, too, that the provisions in our city charter that deal with illegal dumping are being followed. We have a lot of provisions in place that are supposed to deal with these type of trash issues around the community and have not with the illegal dumping. The next thing is, to address the people who live outside. Not necessarily are all of them are homeless. Some of them have created their own homes outside. What the problem is some of those people have been torn out of their homes, or or have lost their homes due to circumstances, not necessarily drugs or what other people have stated, but through gentrification and taxes skyrocketing overnight in certain areas. We saw that with the Jefferson Heights area of Chattanooga, which they now call South Side. So we have to actually get back to the roots of the city and address these issues. I just recently put up my affordable housing plan just last night. Anybody can check it out at my website, www.electchrisdahl.com. And I think it starts with a restructuring of our Chattanooga Housing Authority to start vetting people and getting people off the streets.
Do we have 2 minutes or 1 minute here? 2 minutes. All right, affordable housing, I'm going to address that first if you don't mind. As I began my research to understand where the city was and the vision required to move us forward, the question of affordable housing kept coming up over and over again. And I've learned it does in every election cycle that somehow a lot of promises get made and nothing gets done. My first response was, how in the world could one tackle the issue of affordable housing with building material prices through the roof, up 200% in the last few months, and reliable, dependable, skilled laborers hard to come by, almost impossible. Then you start asking the right questions, and it turns out you stumble into the right person, and a good idea emerges. My team will work with the county to create opportunity zones. These designated areas will be in East Chattanooga, Avondale, and so on and so forth. They will be 5-block by 10-block areas. We'll call them opportunity zones, and they will receive tax abatement for 10 years so that developers will be able to build housing units and use these opportunity zones. Even abate the sewer taxes. You'll get some development in those areas where the houses are needed. These areas will have potential to bring private investment into the communities that are most undersupplied, without having to give away millions and millions of dollars to agencies year after year, and the problem never seems to go away. It gets worse. Now, uniting the city employees, back to picking up the garbage, I was helping a friend of mine, and I'm a hands-on guy, do some remodeling, and we pulled out a bunch of stuff and threw some carpet in his garbage and drug it out to the curb, and there went the truck by and picks it up. He said, "Don't worry, he'll be back. We can carry more out." I was like, "No, they pick your garbage up once." And he explained that in that area, the garbage truck just drives around all day. So he came and got another load. We got some more stuff picked up, and here he came by again. So I think that nobody's got their eye on the ball of what's actually happening in the city operation, because it's just not very efficient. You'll find me focusing on efficiency.
So a few of us were copied on a social media post, and it was I think a commercial from the 1970s. It was a PSA called Tennessee Trash. And it was really trying to just drop home the message that we have to have pride in our state. And Tim's right. I mean, we've got to make sure that if we're calling ourselves a scenic city, we need to act like it. We need to act like it. And so that means that we have to talk about the importance of having a clean city. That means we have to enforce the ordinances and things on code to make sure we have a clean city. But that also means that we're making it easier for Chattanoogans to report out when they do see trash. And we're responsive in a way that also is transparent, that we're acting on those calls. So that's how we want to address the issue of trash. We're going to, again, lift this up as a priority. I know that there's some work being done at the state level. There's a beautification committee, I think, that Neil Thomas is working on, and so we'll partner with them to make sure we're addressing it. We talk about homelessness. There are a number of organizations, Kim's right, a number of organizations working on this issue. But it's just too hard. If you are a person who is homeless, where do you call? Who do you go to? We need one place, one number, one just organization that they can contact to be able to address those issues, whether it's mental health, whether it's finding housing, whether it's trying to prepare for a job. We need one place, one resource that they can attend to. And as the mayor, I will convene and work with these organizations and, again, help us create a true strategy to address this issue, both short-term and long-term. Long-term, we've got to address some issues around housing. We've got to make sure we have more units, so if there are permanent housing needs or transitional housing needs, we've got to have more units. Short-term, we've got to keep people in the houses. Right now, again, we're going through the worst pandemic in our lifetimes, for generations. And so we have to provide the support and resources so that people can stay in their homes right now. Thank you.
That is our time limit tonight for questions, because we're at the 7:15 mark tonight. So the remainder of our time will be given to 1 minute. You have 1 minute. So he'll hold up the yellow at 30 seconds, and then the red at the end of 1 minute. But this is your time to speak to the crowd about why you feel like they should be voting for you. So you have 1 minute. We'll go in the same order as we have all night long. So.
Thank you. It's time for us to do something different. I think that we have a Chattanooga that's not really working well for a lot of people. We have a city hall where there are a lot of secret backroom deals. There are things that happen without citizens and residents having an opportunity to really voice their opinion. We know what it's like to live in a city that's run from the top down. I'm running because I want to give power back to the people. I think it's time for everyday, average Chattanoogans to stand up and be counted and take back the power. Because Hixson needs its share of resources too. Alton Park needs its share of resources. Downtown can't continue to just suck everything away. So, as your mayor, I will represent you. Monty Gruhl for mayor, montygruhl.com. Thank you very much.
Why you should vote for me? You should vote for me because I'm going to be totally transparent. As mayor, at the very least, every 6 months, I will have a meeting of the city officials' night where citizens of Chattanooga can come in and they can talk to the head of the water department, they can talk to the mayor, me, I hope, and all the other heads in the city government about any problem they have, and they will be addressed. And I'm honest and I'm trustworthy. You know, I go by the acronym FATE. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it important? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If it meets all 5 criteria, you should speak. And that's what I try to do in my life, and that's what I'm going to do as mayor. Thank you.
My name is George Ryan. I want to be your next mayor. I will pledge the rest of my life to make sure we have a corporate government-free city. I will guarantee health care as a human right, pay FMLA as a human right, the right to speak out, house all the homeless, feed all the hungry. I will guarantee we'll have real accountability for the police and real training. I will seek justice for those murdered by the police. I made a promise. I will fight to increase the wages and benefits for all city workers, and we will have a budget and a government that works for all people. No corporate voices in my government, just your voices. Essential workers unite. It's our government. It's our time. During the love revolution, what that means is that every worker is important, and it's going to be a workers' government for working people every year, every day. Vote for Mr. Love. Vote for yourselves.
Look, we've heard a lot over the course of this campaign and tonight about big ideas to solve Chattanooga's big problems. I think the relevant question you should be asking yourselves is not who really has the best ideas. We've all converged on a host of really good ideas. It's who can do them. The city is an organization of 2,600 employees. It's the 9th largest employer in the region. And as I like to remind people, I think the value of a small business person in an executive political role like this isn't that we understand business better, business people like that, but it's really that we understand organizational management better. All business really is building teams to get things done with limited time and limited resources. It's been 16 years since we had a business mayor at the mayor's office, and the city was really on the front foot. And that's all I want to do. I have no future political ambitions, and I'm a fully nonpartisan guy. I look forward to working with the county, working with the state and the federal government to get Chattanooga back on the right track and get some things done. Thank you.
You know, Chattanooga is a great place, but we are at a critical crossroads, and we need a proven, successful leader that can lead on day one. I have a successful history. I've run business. I've met payroll. I've ran a nonprofit. I've worked beside city government for 11 years. I've developed coalitions and public-private partnerships, and city government can't do it alone. We've got to bring our community together. We've got to partner with the city and with the state. So I'm thrilled that the business community's come beside me. I feel like this is a job that I've been led to do based on my experience. I know what it's like to juggle paychecks. I come from a working-class family. I think Chattanooga needs a mayor they can relate to. I've been there. I've done that. I'm excited about the opportunity to use the skills that I've used for the past 17 years in this community, for the whole community. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Christopher Dahl once again, and I'd like to say thank you for the Kiwanis Club for hosting this event. They actually were the first people to ride a boat through the dam as well, through the locks. I just want people to consider me because I'm willing to file bankruptcy and get the city out of debt. You know, we have incurred much municipal bond debt that nobody wants to talk about, and I am willing to restructure our government, file bankruptcy, start paying off our debt, start getting back to the basics, which is following our city charter, following the agreement that we're locked into with the EPA consent decree, and getting the city back into a municipality status. Thanks, and vote for Chris Dahl. If anybody wants to contact me further, they can call me at 423-693-4731, and I'm available 24 hours a day. Even if I'm asleep, I answer.
having us. If you are happy with the status quo of the Burke administration, tent cities, gang problems, bike lanes, motorcycle racing up and down Hixson Pike at all hours of the night, lawlessness, you can pick somebody else. But if you're interested in secure neighborhoods, job creation, improved government efficiency, and someone to shrink the government, pick me, elect me. I'm a pro-growth visionary and a Chattanoogan, and I appreciate you letting us talk tonight. Thank you.
Thanks again to the Hixson Kiwanis for hosting us here in the Hixson Middle School for having us here this evening. Ultimately, this boils down to what kind of city do we want to be? What kind of city do we want to be? Do we want to be a city that continues to allow more Chattanoogans to fall behind? Do we want to be a city that continues to allow young people to think that we don't believe or we're not investing in them? I don't think that's the city we want to be. We want a city that every child, whether you live in Eastlake, whether you live in Alton Park or in Hixson, you know that this is a city that believes in you. If you want a mayor that walks in day one that's already recruited thousands of jobs and negotiated thousands of jobs to be here, a mayor that's gotten legislation passed at the state level, a mayor that has already brought private and public and nonprofit communities together to solve tough issues, then I'm your candidate. If you want a mayor that's going to make sure that my journey going from the West Side, being the first in my family to graduate, to becoming the city attorney, is not the exception, but the expectation that every kid can have, then I'm your candidate. Vote for me, Wade Hinton. Thank you.
I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. We appreciate your words. I do want to give a big thank you to the Kiwanis Club again. Let's give it up for them for having us here tonight. They really care about the city of Chattanooga. I moved here 15 years ago, and I am a Chattanooga at heart right now. And I love this city. To me, it's the greatest city in the state of Tennessee. And I'm excited about the future of Chattanooga and excited to see what's going to happen. So I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Haynes to wrap it up.
Well, again, thank you to everyone for being here. To the candidates, I guess I was unaware that this was your first time to all be in person. So it's as easy as it looks when you're sitting out there. It's much tougher when you're standing up here and you're answering questions and you don't know what's coming. So again, kudos to all of you for being here tonight. We do have one final question, and this is from the Kiwanis Club as a whole. In the event that we have a runoff, we'd like the top two candidates to come back for another night, to be determined at a later date. If you all will agree to that, we'll have the top two vote getters in the event that there is a runoff.